Nope, you sound fine. 5 by 5, man.
Hold on, let me see if I can get my volume up. So how are you doing up there? You guys getting rain?
It's rain. Excuse me. It's raining right now.
Yeah, we need it, but yeah.
So they're hammering you, huh?
Yeah, I could see it coming, but was a little taken aback by how quick and how hard they came. I've even had at the highest level someone messed with my secure socket layer certificate. That's a bit like walking into your bank and messing with your checks or
Checking
something
account,
like that.
right?
Yeah,
That's
I
like
mean,
changing a routing number, man. That's high level. I listened to every single one of your shows, and I re-listened to your last one, and I can't quite put a finger on why they decided to nail you all of a sudden, unless you're just next.
well, I think there's always method to the madness with these folks, and they're not stupid. And, really where we're headed is they want to control what's said online. It's that simple.
Right.
We know certainly not, it's not really arguable. We know certainly that Google and Facebook rewrote their algorithms on the tail of I should ask you, this is your channel. I don't want, I know you've put a lot of work into things like most people who have a channel. Um, if I say things like the V word, there's a good chance you're going to get caught in the algorithm.
No, I
Do you
know.
want?
I ran all my spy bot, my malware stuff before I made this call. So feel free, have at it, man.
My point being is when you record this, if you put it up on YT and I do say the V word or other things, you're going to get snatched in the algorithm. I guess that doesn't guarantee a strike, but already other channels who have had me on got nailed right on the
Right.
tail of having me on. So what would you like me to do, man? It's your show and I
No, no,
don't want
no.
to mess you up.
Say whatever you want, brother. If I get hit, I get hit. I have other resources. I'll get around it.
All right. So basically, on the tail of Vegas, all these things were rewritten, but it was a pretty insidious event. I don't watch the news because I just don't want that pollution in my mind anymore.
Right.
But I was watching how the users on my forum were interacting, and I just couldn't take it anymore. People were completely lost and confused and scared and unsure. And so I said, okay, I'll go look at this one. I'll break my rule. And I did. And it took me all of about 5 minutes to get a good overhead view of what went down. And so I did that episode. And immediately on the tail of that, it came flying down. And let me tell you something. The first strike I got, I don't know if you've ever heard me do a few shows I've done with Randy from Houston.
Of course.
Everybody loves Randy from Houston. That was the first strike they gave me, and that was a pretty damn innocuous talk. Then the second strike they gave me, which locked me out of everything, was another clip that had been running for, I don't know, at least over a year. I'm not sure. I'm kind of locked out, so I've kind of walked away for now. But when I started making calls and to other people who I know are in the know, that's when I began to realize that I had hit it pretty much on the head, that the Vegas thing was a milestone event. And of course, the numerology already showed us that. I made a joke on my last thumbnail for the last episode up that I did, that our new binary code is, 11911, 111999911.
Right, right.
And it basically, even though it's a joke, it's kind of a true thing in a way.
You're right, because it's amazing how flagrant they are with encoding this stuff around us. Everything breaks down to 911 somehow. It's freaking me out.
It's, you get to a point where you understand that some of it has to be synchronicity, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a hand at work here as well.
Right.
And you can always see it in things like, Jason and I just did a show where we covered things like the Posse Comitatus Act and these other things. And what you find in a lot of things is you will find initial dates encoding 9/11. Well, that wasn't really true for some of the acts that we covered, but on the amendments, there would be like 2 amendments on, I forget what the act was that allows military to act within the borders of the country. Both of those amendment dates were encoding 9/11. So you can see the hand there.
Right.
So many people for a long time have been hollering about Walmart, the word, the name, encoding the idea of martial law, showing that the buildings could be used to house people. And I've always kind of watched and, never really delved in too far, understanding that even if that was never an intent, the idea is out there. Once the idea is out there, the data is collected to see the response from the people. But at this point, I really don't see how some major event or something like martial law, there's got to be some line in the sand, and it's got to be coming probably pretty quickly when they go so openly with the censorship. Because I don't know what you're seeing, but what I'm seeing is a heck of a lot of people getting fed up. And when that happens, you can lose control real easy. I don't know what your point of view might be on that. I don't know what you're witnessing out in the community.
Well, I was on the road. I was traveling the country when Vegas went down, and I started watching. I didn't even know it happened. Somebody hit me up and said, "Richie, this just happened." So I started looking at it, and the only information I got right off the bat was them interviewing witnesses that were there. And once I started watching the eyewitnesses that were, my buddy got shot 3 times and told me, "Oh my, I've been hit." As soon as I saw that, I knew that this was a hoax. Crisis actors, this did not happen. I called it out.
Spot on.
Based on what I saw from the eyewitnesses, because if these people are lying about the gunshots, I had a tourniquet above my knee because I got shot in the foot, but yet the next day I'm on television. Yeah. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, and they're using it. This is fake news round 2, so I expect a lot of channels are going to be going down. They can't pull the plug on us all at the same time because they might accidentally wake people up. So they're doing it one at a time, and it seems like you're on deck.
Well, I would point out that, what they nailed me for, an interview with Randy from Houston. I mean, come on. The last clip up before I got locked out, episode 76, I think it is. Yeah, 76. That's the one where we talk about Vegas, and that has not been touched. So you can see you're spot on. They're hiding it. But, here's the funny thing. I didn't even really need to go look at the event.
Right.
I could just tell from what I saw. There's a pattern. Every time one of these events goes down, people will come into my personal website and they will say things like, my cousin's uncle's monkey's raccoon was shot, and you can speak with them. And every time, every single event we've ever had, I said I'd be happy to speak with someone who is injured, shot, or killed, And
they disappear.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They almost always sign up the day of or the day after the event. I can see their sign-up date. And the real tell is it's never I was there. It's never never direct responsibility. It's always that uncle grandpa thing.
Yep.
And I say that for a reason because so many people probably haven't thought about why that children's show is named Uncle Grandpa. They should decipher what Uncle Grandpa actually means to see just the insidious nature of media. But, one of the main things I was hoping that we could address was so many people online are at odds all the time. Since I've been online, I've made it a point, even if I feel like people are slighting me, not to get at odds with people. And here's my reasoning behind that. Systems that are being taken under control are more easily taken under control if there's no variety. In other words, the powers that be, when they go in to do a thing, they quite often try to segment society. They can do it by race, by religion, by belief system, any number of ways they begin to segment society. And they remove variety. And for the average person listening to this later, you can witness this in our cars right now. Go out and look at American SUV, like maybe what a Hyundai Santa Fe, that kind of class of car, and look at all the other manufacturers that are not Hyundai. They almost all look identical.
Right.
Then when you're in a day, and you sound like you might be old enough to remember a few things from the 70s, I'm guessing.
We're the same age, yep.
Yeah, so look at the colors of cars and look at the lack of variety in the color of new cars. Richie and I were old enough to remember a different time when car manufacturers, they competed, man. When the Mustang came out, they were trying to put a Camaro together to head to head in the marketplace.
Yep.
And there were these special colors, like a Dodge Challenger or Charger, I forget which, had like a special color that was actually called Challenger Purple or Challenger Blue, I forget. And you can see where we are now, where the variety is be limiting. And so that kind of wordy response I just give, we all need to come together. We need to set aside, some people think there's aliens out there. Other people don't. It doesn't matter if you don't agree. Religious, race, part of world, any of these things, we need to set them aside and come together as fellow human beings, because in the face of what's going on here, the censorship is out in the open. We're through the looking glass. This is no longer the hidden hand. But on top of it, there's a bit of I started a meme called a modern day book burning. That's what's going on here. And it's a serious thing. Anyone out there with children, you should be thinking, what kind of a world, if I don't stand up for what I think is correct here, what kind of a world will these children coming behind us have? And I've made the promise, 3 to 5 years from now, if people don't stand up against what's going on with regard to censorship online, you're going to show up at your ATM one day and it's not going to give you money. And there will be some ridiculous reason given, like your car license isn't up to date or some other nonsense. Because this will creep into everything. On my About page on crow777radio.com, I wrote that text in 2013, and it talks wholly about free speech. It was no mystery all the way back then where this was headed, but I don't know how you feel about all that.
No, it's been steadily creeping in. I followed you since you first showed up on YouTube, man. I signed up with Crow 777. I love the podcast. I don't understand why so many people don't see this for what it is. They're slowly creeping in where there's going to be the ATM not giving you money because your car's not registered. That's not some pie in the sky or some tinfoil conspiracy theory. It's happening. They're putting all the steps in place around people. The laws that are surrounding us right now that haven't yet been enacted or used are staggering. They can arrest any given person at any given time and then retrieve every single phone call, email, text message, or video that you've made. And they're pretty much they're not hiding it anymore. They've come out in the last year. I've seen these people come out of the shadows because they don't care anymore, because they've done all their testing. How many people will see this for what it is? And the percentage is down to people like you, and the people that listen to us. It's small.
Well, I always wonder how many candles are lit across that field that I can't see. You and I don't control the information systems, and I always hope and pray that there are millions, and it's a hard thing to know. So I agree with you. It is a hard thing to know. But I guess, go ahead.
I'll tell you, in the last month, I ran into a lot of people across the United States, people from every walk, it's amazing how many people do understand what's going on, but sadly they're all of the mindset, but I'm only one person, what can I do?
Well, you see, that's we should address that. Every single person is critical to this. You see, what's going on here is a mind game. You're being, what's that word for someone who's been put in jail? I forget the word, where they end up liking the jail better than freedom because they get so used to the jail.
Institutionalized.
That is this system. Every mind out there that wakes up to this matters, and for more than one reason. When you get a group of people and one person gets an idea, and even though they haven't shared it, you will find that idea migrates much more easily, a bit like the 100th monkey idea.
Right.
But not only that, these are spells. Do not be fooled by language. You are taught to spell when you are in the 3rd grade. These are spells. Language and words and colors, they put an idea in your mind that did not exist before that idea was put there. It's something out of nothing. That is basically a form of magic. That is spells. So much of the kind of control systems that we live within rely on this, and that is about mind. It's wholly about mind. And even, so many people come to talk on my site, and they'll say things like, well, I'm catching on now, but I can't talk with my family. My family gets upset. And I tell those people the same thing every time. First, you have to change your own mind,
Right.
and you have to be an example. And if it's going to cause, you know what the next word out of your mouth is going to do with people you're friends with or people you love or your family. If the next word out of your mouth is going to cause trouble, then don't let that be the next word out of your mouth. But that does not prevent you from changing your mind. When enough minds have changed, the spell is broken. These spells rely on the buy-in, on the mind warp.
Yep.
That is what this relies on. And, this whole situation, I've likened it a few times to having a few million people out in the ocean, all of which can swim, all of which have a life preserver. But the vast majority of them won't let go of the life preserver. They know they don't need it. They know they can swim without it. But a few will. A few will say, you know what, I'm letting go of this life preserver. I'm going to go swim for it here. I'm going to go get away from where I am. And that's kind of what it's like. People are so kind of caught up in day-to-day work, they don't want to rock the boat. But the problem here is you don't rock this boat, and this boat is going to own your ass.
Absolutely.
That's all there is to it.
It's amazing over the past 3, 4, 5 years. All the stuff that we've said, all the theories that we've put out, everything's coming to fruition, and people still aren't seeing it. Or this is the case in my situation. Most of my family members, I don't even know if they know that I'm Richie from Boston. I have to assume they do. These people are this is my family, not me. These people are well educated, statistically in society, they do well. They don't want to hear this stuff, even though they must watch the news thinking that this is ridiculous, but they don't want to rock the boat because it causes them to have to make a change. And so many people are so comfortable in the never-ending taxing, the never-ending fees, the never-ending may I please go here as long as I pay a permit. They're just happy with it. And these are supposed to be upper middle class, yet they still have to work every day or they'll lose everything. Nobody seems to own anything anymore. I don't know. I kind of got lost on that one.
Well, no, you're making a really valid point that I've witnessed. There are groups of people that seem to have a very difficult time understanding what we're laying down here, the realities that we're existing with.
Right.
Many of these people are super educated. And here's an example. We had some people over to dinner. One of them was a doctor. Another one was a PhD. And they got to railing about the whole Hillary Trump thing. And I finally said, why are you people upset about this? Don't you understand that your vote has no role in seating a president? And they said to me, well, what are you talking about? We know this is a republic. And I said, well, no, excuse me, but it's actually the Electoral College that seats a president. And if you look at how the Electoral College runs, you will understand that human beings going out to vote in the United States of America is a complete sham. You will further understand that the Electoral College was a backdoor put in place so that the same people will always hold power. And there are plenty of examples of presidents being seated against the supposed popular vote, which just means they didn't market well enough to get the popular vote to reflect what they wanted. One of those people was Harrison. You know who Harrison's descendants are? Harrison's descendants are those great human beings that run the show Pawn Stars, who are clearly there to show us all a better way.
Indeed.
I don't watch a lot of movies, but I do understand that the media, the television, all of it is going to reflect. In the same way I recorded some shows right after the censorship went live to prove to myself that I could predict the television was trying to sway the minds at the same time. There was a movie, I don't remember what it was, but I remember the line. There was some supposed big nonsensical nuclear apocalypse. Nukes don't exist, but anyhow, that was in the movie. And someone who was young was talking to this older person saying, what was it like before the whole world got ruined? And his first response was, we had too much. And I got to thinking about that. And it's a hell of a thing. You see, because if you go into the average American home, there's just so much stuff stacked up everywhere.
Right.
So many houses with just so many things we don't need. And that's part of the problem of being able to switch your mind, because those people who are well educated, who get a decent paycheck, who can have a good standard of living, they do not want to lose that. And questioning the things that have to be questioned at this point seemingly are going to threaten that way of life. But the point here is, man, are you a human being? Do you care about the people that will come behind us? Because those people are going to look back at what we do here today, all of us. And if we do not stand up against tyranny, then we are not patriots. We are cowards.
Absolutely.
Flat out. If we stand up, even if we do not succeed, if we stand up, we set the stage, we do what we can, we are the example. But, you know, who do you want to be? You know, anyone listening, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a person who's looked back on in 50 years and thought of as what the hell was wrong with those people back then? Why did they let this happen? Or do you want to be thought about as someone who stood and tried to hold against tyranny? Because that's what this is about.
I think what you just said has a lot to do with why they focus so much on getting people to be so selfish with the selfies and the materialism, all the nonsense like that. When I just traveled in a vehicle, and it's amazing how little you need to be happy on this planet. Do you know what I'm saying? Or on this plane, whatever you want to call it.
So spot on. So, you know, I've done shows where I've harped on the fact that so much of the control mechanisms are based in fear. Fear requires one thing from a human being to cast the spell, and that's ego. And that's exactly what you just said. It is the idea of selfies. You know, there's even these stupid real estate ads running now where someone's coming to look at a house and someone's already bought it. And the person who bought it looks up and asks the realtor, who's that? And the realtor says, not you.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
it's this self-centric kind of selfish, egotistical mindset. It is the lowering of the human mind that has allowed this to happen. And, you know, anyone who wants to test any of the things being said here, I invite anyone to go back and look at the old Hawaii 5-0 with, what was that guy's name? Jack Lord, is that right?
Yep.
The chief player in the original Hawaii 5-0, his name was Jack Lord. Watch how he is portrayed on the screen. He will seem to you like an adult. Now go to the modern TV and find the equal adult. You won't find it. You will not find it. And the reason is because media has been used to set the standard for our culture. That's all there is to it. In the West, we really don't have culture. You want culture, you go to someplace in India where 10 generations of people are in the same trade. Then you might find some culture. Here, what we have is some people who like some movies and TV shows. That's our culture.
That's it. We're living in an enormous experiment. I think it appears to me that they've gotten what they wanted out of the United States, and now it's just time to pull the plug. But they're having a little fun with it first. They're genetically modifying everything. They're putting fluoride everywhere. They want to see how bad they can get it. And a trip down to a local Walmart pretty much any time of the day will prove my point.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Well, you know, it's not been done in a bubble. There is some universal rule that says these heartless kind of control freaks have to pre-announce what they're going to do. Sometimes they do it. They cryptically hide it. They do all these things. But I would point out the Tavistock Institute was, you know, front and center in a lot of this, as was Sigmund Freud, as was Carl Jung. These are the people who started to write the book on how the psyche of mass groups of people could be manipulated. From the Tavistock Institute, we had all these authors that invented things that Jason and I have taken a lot of time to show how much of the modern belief systems were invented by sci-fi authors. Animal Farm, Brave New World, these are showing the methods they use. In the case of Brave New World, it's showing where we're headed. There's even a drug used in that book called Soma. That's a real drug in the world.
It sure is.
You can see, you know, my wife went to the doctor and they tried to put her on an antidepressant when she wasn't depressed or anything else. She came home and showed it to me, and I walked into the toilet, flushed them down the toilet, and we called back and said, what is going on here? Because, doctor, if you took these for 2 days, you'd never prescribe them again. You're changing the brain chemistry of people, but you've been taught that that's what doctors do. And I would remind you, that's not what a damn doctor does. A damn doctor took a Hippocratic oath for whatever it's worth to do no harm. When you get to the point where all medicine is drug-based, you're doing harm.
Right. Right.
So here again, we have the same problem. Here's a doctor driving a Mercedes, living in a great house, does not want to rock the boat, but they're violating their Hippocratic oath. They are doing harm. You know, here's where we are. So I'll ask one more time to everyone listening. Who will you be in this lifetime? Tyranny is here. Tyranny is in the open. Freedom of speech, one of the most basic rights. And if you don't believe me, talk with Richie. He lived in the 70s. Someone wanted to know what was on your library card in the 70s. They'd have got the crap kicked out of them.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. The amount of arms up in air back then is, compared to now, is staggering. People have no issue with being put in a fenced-in area, a free speech area. I mean, this stuff this is old news now. Now, they're at the level right now where they're now going through and pulling the plug. That should be frightening to everybody. Speaking of Jason is a Secrets from Saturn YouTube channel that I followed for a long time. That's the only place you're being able to stream now, correct?
Well, it's the only YouTube outlet. Crow777radio.com has got some word of mouth going now. It's a shame. I don't think I have the following you do. I was somewhere close to, ironically, right on Crowley's birthday, 77,000 subs, episode 77, when they booted me out for whatever that's worth.
To me, that's just them giving you a nod and a wink that, yes,
maybe
you can't prove this, but here you go. 777, indeed.
So, right now, I will put the free content out on Secrets of Saturn, but people should realize all the free content is on crow777radio.com. The membership is what allows us to afford to be away from Google and the people that want to censor us, because you got to have a media server, you got to have all the things of a modern website. So that's the idea behind the membership. The other idea behind the membership is having up a wall. It's not so, even though the powers that be can do almost anything they want with any personal computer. The idea here is like we're getting transcripts of all the shows that we've done. We're going to post those behind the wall. The idea being that once someone gets a transcript, it can go into any language. If I put that out in the public searchable area, then every word I've ever spoken is easily obtainable by those who want to cause trouble. And people should realize I picked up 2 strikes in 2 days. After the show where Jason and I informed the public that it was a FEMA drill at Vegas. On the tail of that, we had a line of people come into Crow 777 Radio, actual subscribers who were clearly agents of the system trying to cause trouble. Then there came what I'm calling a denial of service attack, but that's really not the right name for it. Couple days ago, I don't remember, Richie, was it yesterday or the day before? Do you remember when this thing happened? I think it was the day before. My phone starts blowing up. I get over to my computer because I always break the internet connection. Turn on the internet connection, and I've just got messages coming. They say the site's down, the site's down. I go to hit the site, and so for the average person, whenever you hit a website, you'll see HTTP. That's the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If that HTTP has an S on the end of it, it's implying that that is a secure site, secured by a certificate and a secure socket layer. What had happened is everyone was getting a browser window saying, you are being compromised. Click this button if you want to report Crow 777 Radio as an unsafe site. And by the way, if you go there now, you could lose all your, just all these lies. Someone had manipulated the secure socket layer.
Oh, my. Yeah, but that was a ruse, correct? There's no way they could have got to everybody's information.
No, the site was completely safe. Nice. It was a completely external attack. You've got to realize I've got black hats and all kinds of other people.
I got you. I followed
who helped
me
set up the site. But here's the rub. For someone to have actually made it look like the SSL certificate had either expired or, as it appears, was actually assigned to a different web address than mine. And bear in mind, all these years it's been my secure socket layer certificate, and suddenly one day, oh no, it's pointed at the wrong domain, or no, it's going to expire. And by the way, it never expires. I have a permanent one. So that is akin, I have explained it to people who aren't technical like this. It's about like someone walking into the bank and then changing your checks. That's what it's like. But anyhow, the site was never compromised. It would be very difficult for the average hacker to do anything, and they could never get information because they would have to hack PayPal.
Right.
It's all
They'd have
set
to
up.
go through PayPal, which is, I mean,
Right.
that's an enormous feat.
Not doable. If you hack PayPal, you will be caught the same second you do it.
Right.
But there is no data kept on my site because when I set it up, I knew what was coming. And so, this is what's gone on. And the reason it's gone on is because Jason and I talked about the 9/11, the new 9/11 encoded Vegas, and the nonsense and the social change and the landmark event that it was as they screamed, coast to coast that more human life had been lost and all this nonsense. And, there's other people, I won't name them, who have rightly called this for, God, more years than I've even been on YouTube. If you repeat that people died here, you are committing, I don't even know, if you're a spiritual person, you're committing a spiritual crime because you are echoing death where no death occurred.
Right.
If you're not a
false witness, man.
Right. If you're not a spiritual person, then I guess you could simply view it as you have become a liar echoing death because you are echoing a lie. And the problem here is that when you get to your higher mind, when you quit believing in all this nonsense, after, I don't know, something like a year, the scales fall off your eyes. I didn't need to go look at Vegas to know what Vegas was. I just didn't need to.
Right.
I did to go get some details so that I could post for my followers who were completely spun around backwards. It's just, people, you got to quit believing in anything that comes out of mainstream media. It's just that simple, and you've got to do it for about a year. If you do that, you will start to take possession of your mind again. And the real truth is it goes much deeper. And I think Richie may have covered some of these things, if I'm not mistaken. There are frequencies in color. There are frequencies in sound.
Yep.
There are tests that go well before the 1900s that show keywords can be embedded to have people do actions, much like Pavlov's dogs and the bell.
Exactly.
I guarantee you that the day Vegas happened, frequencies, colors, flicker rates, words, sayings, phrases that didn't mean a damn thing to you that you may have heard in a sitcom or a movie 5 years ago came into play on that day. That's how involved this is. I generally don't talk about this because it gets to be a bridge too far for many people, but you've got to understand what Vegas was and that every damn card in that 52 card deck is stacked against you. You have to let go of this information and treat it as false out of the gate.
I couldn't possibly have said it better. I had to look at it before I figured out that it was a FEMA drill. It was a huge staged drill. And people, again, oh, Richie, my next door neighbor's dog had a friend. It's always somebody separate. It's never, I was there. You should have seen it. It was hard.
The mind virus, right?
Right.
That's kind of like the mind virus, because there's two options here. Either that person is an agent of the system defending a lie, a spiritual death lie, because that's what this is.
Yep.
This is black magic, guys. They're creating death where no death exists. And when enough minds buy into it, then it may as well have happened. That's what's going on. Or the other option here is that the mind virus has been so effective that now they will further the lie for whatever mental kind of egotistical reason they have in their head. They will start to say things like, I know a person who knows a person.
Yep.
When in fact, an adult would be saying, wait a minute, why should I buy into this? Why should I believe for a second there are endless people in this world that want nothing more than to get a machine gun and kill people? That's nonsense. You see, an adult understands that almost every other adult in this world is at least similar to themselves. There are bad apples in every barrel, make no mistake, but there are damn few of them. And if that wasn't true, we wouldn't have barrels of apples we could eat.
Right.
We would have barrels of apples with bad apples.
Yep, absolutely right.
You were being fooled into thinking that humanity is this cesspool of violence. And if you knew the truth, you would come to understand that nearly 90-some% of all the hatred, ugliness, killing, violence that you have ever heard has been manufactured. And that tells you a truth about this world, this created place we exist, it is far more peaceful than most of us probably will ever get a chance to know. That is the truth, and it is a provable truth.
Think about it. Think about it. I'll be 50 years old next month, sadly. But for the people that are in our age group or even younger, think about this. Think about this. How many people do you know or have you met in this particular lifetime that have completely gone insane and done something like this? I don't know anybody. I know a couple of people that have lost it and they've done a crime, but it was never like this. If we took the government out of the equation, we wouldn't have any acts like this. And if we got rid of the mainstream media, this would actually be a great world to live on. Do you know what I'm saying? Because according to them, everything is horrible at every given moment of every given day. But
let's put a test out there for people that they can do. I always try to figure out a way for the mind that is ready to quit accepting this nonsense and challenge it. Do this. When you next watch your local news, local to the town that you live in, this is some of the things you should notice. The average news story is given to you in less than a minute. Sometimes within a 30-minute segment, you can get so many pieces of information that if you break it down and pay attention, you will find out quickly that you haven't received any news at all. What you've got was maybe 2 sentences for any given news story. The words were simple so that you could digest it quickly. Start to test these things. But here's the thing. If you go out in the city or the town or wherever you live for a whole day, okay, for one whole day, and you drive around everywhere, every place you can imagine to drive in your area, is it likely you will see a single death, a single rape, a single robbery, a single stabbing, a single any horrible violent event? And while occasionally people will see a car accident, here's my point. When you turn on that news, 80 to 90% of it will be driving all the bad things that happened in your local community that day. I will further point out, in the case of the hoaxed beheadings that went on so many years ago, where we were trying to be told that Muslims were such animals, not even human beings, that they would cut the heads off people, it had no bearing on your life, and yet it was being reported across this country like it had a bearing on every single life that tuned in. The truth is, even if those beheadings were real, which they were not, you're powerless. You have no way to affect it one way or another, what goes on the other side of the world. But the truth is it was a lie. If you're a spiritual person, it was a spiritual spell of death. If you're not a spiritual person, then it is simply black magic's death spells. Those are two ways that different kinds of people can look at what we're saying here. The truth is if you never heard that news at all, it wouldn't change your life one iota, nor should it. And yet what actually happened was it was blared, endlessly echoed, fake YouTube videos made to put this death system, this fake death-based system across every portion of society. So there it is. You can test what we're saying here is true just by taking apart your local media and coming to understand what they are representing is horror, ugliness, violence, hardship, starving, homeless, blood, accidents, death, when in fact you can go out in your community for a week straight and you will see next to none of that.
You're absolutely right. It's spell magic. Even the words. I've never gone into the words, the book of the law, all that stuff. But Max Egan talks about this stuff all the time, every time I have him on. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're broadly casting a spell, a program. And they're making, it's just too much.
Let's prove it. I'll prove it right now for the people listening, and I'll give the forewarning that every information source in this world will give you. I'm going to show you how a spell is cast. I'm going to prove to you that language is a spell right now. I'm going to cast a spell. It's not dangerous. It won't hurt you, but it is going to put something in your mind that you can't stop. Red ball. I just cast a spell. You got an image of a red ball in your mind. If you take apart what I just said, you will start to understand that language is in fact magic. It creates something out of nothing, and it implants ideas into your mind. In the case of what I did, it was harmless. I put the image of a red ball in your mind. In the case of what the media and the powers that be do, it is very harmful, very, very harmful. And it services a death-based, dark kind of black magic-y world, for lack of better terms.
It's crazy. I was gone for a month. I was out in Ouray, Colorado, Moab, Utah. I was out away from
Love that place.
Away from the Wi-Fi. And every time I do this, every time I travel the country, I come back, I end up getting sick as soon as I cross into New England. And this time was no different than any other time. I don't know if it's all in my head. I don't know what the deal is, but being disconnected was a beautiful thing, except for the fact that I couldn't do live streams and my subscribers were getting mad. But
well, for one thing, I mean, come on, Rich, you're in Boston. There's not going to be 1 inch of space where you're not being bombarded with signals. And to top it off, I mean, anyone who's been to Boston, there's a big difference between the air in Moab that you're breathing and the air in Boston that you're breathing. I mean, every time I have to go to the airport up there and go through that tunnel, I wish I had a gas mask, for crying out loud. But I love me some Moab, though.
Yeah, me too, man. I loved it out there.
Love that place. Love Arches.
Oh yeah. I got video of all of them. I've been going through video for the last several days, but again, I've been sick, so today's the first day I actually felt pretty decent.
Well, hey, man, let me thank you for having me on to talk about the kind of censorship and tyranny that is the responsibility of every person listening to stand against. We don't need guns, in my view. This is my personal view. We don't need violence. We don't need any of these things. What we need to do is stop accepting and change our minds. When we do this, we become a light to all the people around us, even the people who maybe aren't ready to wake up yet. And that's the thing, man. We've got to come together. If you see a person that's a different race than you or a different belief, or they think they're pretty sure, aliens are here, or they're pretty sure they're not here, embrace that variety. That variety is what makes a group of people difficult to control. And right now, tyranny is in the opening. And something's coming, guys. There will be a line in the sand where control is going to be exerted at a level we have never seen before. And I will point out, before I wrap up with you, Richie, a follower just renewed his driver's license in the state he's in. He got a card back with his new license that said, for you to fly on an airplane or enter a federal building by the year 2020, you will be required to carry a secured driver's license. What do you suppose that means?
Oh, my.
Are we looking at the Cain and Abel mark
Yep.
thing? Are we looking at, I could put this a lot of different ways for people in different walks of life to look at it. The idea of having something on your hand you can't sell or trade, or the idea of being chipped for people who don't have a religious affiliation, because all of us, regardless of our affiliations and beliefs, we better start standing together and supporting our fellow man and standing up against this tyranny. Or I'll tell you what, man, read Brave New World. We're all going to be drugged out on Soma and not even aware that we're in prison. So anyhow, Richie, I just want to thank you so much for having me on, giving me the platform.
Not a problem. Anytime you need it, just hit me up. It's not a problem. Let me ask.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I know that you can still Crow 777 isn't down and out yet, but you are on the ropes, the YouTube channel. But the website is still going strong. I'm looking at it right now, crow77radio.com. And you're also still going on YouTube on Jason Lindgren's channel, Secrets of Saturn, correct?
So let me be clear. Right now I'm locked out of YouTube. So Crow 777 on YouTube. I don't know whether they're going to give me the third strike and take me out or not, but I'm locked out for 2 weeks. Crow777radio.com is my private website where I post all my podcasts. I have members. I have free content. This is the bastion of free speech. I don't give a damn what I can't say on YouTube or anywhere else. I'll say whatever I damn well please on Crow 777 Radio. The support of membership is what allows us to run that place, have a media server, do all these things. Not a lot of money. Support us if you care to. But I would like to say, Richie, thank you so much for opening your platform for me to come out and address these topics. And I will further put out, Used to be not too long ago when people wanted me to come speak, I would vet them, because whenever you go speak on someone's show, then of course all your followers say, well, you must support the work this person's doing, and you're backing this person. And this is what I'm telling you. I don't give a damn what anyone's platform is. If they want me on right now to talk, I will come talk. I'm about embracing every single person in the community that will have me to talk about this tyranny that is in our face. There is a modern day book burning going on. If YouTube had a problem with a video, they could remove it. So think about what that means. They're taking out, in my case, so many thousands of hours, 4 straight solid years of telescope work. If they remove that channel, will be removed from the face of this world. And now a guy in Papua New Guinea will not be able to search the lunar wave as it was originally intended. Think about what that means. Anyhow, Richie, thank you so much, man.
No worries, man. I know that ODD TV has put out the invitation for you to go on his platform as well.
He pinged me. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yep. We all got to stand together, because Crow is just the latest victim. At least he's been able to get his voice out there before they totally shut him down. So we need to back each other up, or we're going to lose this platform completely.
Crow777radio.com is a private site, and it will continue, and it will be a bastion for all free speech.
Yep.
All comers.
Links will be in the description. Yeah. And I think I've been subscribed to Crow777 for like 4, 5, 6 months now. I don't remember. So there's that.
Long time, whatever it's been. Anyhow, I'm going to sign off. I got a guy in south of Spain who's going to let me use his platform as well.
Nice.
So Richie, thank you. And all you people out there, reach out, man. Grab your brother, grab your sister. We're in for some stormy waters here. We got to pull together, and we got to stand against it.
All right, Crow. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
I am out.